Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Over the weekend, we had the Bibbidi Bobbidi Brawl in Newark, California, the Bay Area. 53-player tournament, and I thought I would look at some deck lists here today. Um, well, it was only 54 players. There were some very good players in the room. And some grinders on some of the informal clients, and notably Team Tianhu was in the room. A lot of their team members were in the room, and a number of them made top cut. So we're going to take a look at some deck lists from that tournament here in just a moment. All right. In first place was Steel Song, piloted by Louis. This is Kurt's list from the ICL, I believe, and I don't think there were any changes to this list. Just a Queen Steel Song list, so the Queen can shift on 2. It's running the Daisy Duck, it's running Ursula Vanessa, 3 copies of Gaston, 2 copies of Ariel Sonic Warrior, and then 3 copies of World's Greatest Criminal Mind, trying to prey on possibly opposing Biancas, as well as things like Half Shark, which has shown up in red decks and other things. The Queen also being able to give +4 strength to a character, and so enabling the World's Greatest Criminal Mind in other situations, potentially to be some spot removal. And Louis piloted this pretty well throughout the day, and took it away at the end of the day. So congratulations to Louis playing Steel Song. Steel Song is back post Hiram ban. In second place, a Blurple deck. This Blurple deck running, the kind of traditional turn 2 ramp with the 8 copies. It's running Bell and Popsicle. Just the Bell and Popsicle is the only 4 items to enable the early Bell. Of course, Bell there can sing Friends on the Other Side. Madam Mim, Fox, you've got the Crab, Genie, Iago. No, of note here, no Peter Pan to rush in that Iago, but still playing that 4/7 body. 4 copies of Goat, 2 copies of Belle, Accomplished Mystic, 4 copies of Elsa, 2 copies of Gaston, 4 Hades, 1 Mufasa, 4 Finders Keepers, and 4 McDuck Manors. I think this is a pretty spicy Blurple build. And a very competent pilot. This was piloted by Very Hungry, or Chris. Chris was second place in Las Vegas to Zan, playing Green Steel at the DLC. Third place, Daniel T on Ruby Sapphire. So a Ruby Sapphire post Hiram build here. And kind of an interesting hybrid list here. It's mostly a half shark list. So we've got the 4 McDuck Manors, we've got the 4 B Preps, the 4 Pirates Life, the 2 Let It Go, 4 copies of How Far I'll Go. But it's playing 1 less copy of Vision of the Future. It's still playing 2 copies of Brawl, but then it has a little bit of a expanded item package here. So it's got a copy of Ice Block, it's got Popsicle, it's got Vitalisphere, Sapphire Coil, and a Merlin's Carpet Bag. So a pretty interesting mix of items. Carpet Bag enabling you to return popsicles and generate some card advantage. 4 copies of Tamatoa, Happy as a Clam, trying to fill the gap left by Hiram for card draw. 3 copies of the Sisu, 4 copies of Half Shark, 4 copies of Hero to All, 4 copies of Grammatala, 2 Goofy, and 4 Tipo. So kind of an interesting hybrid list. I attempted to do something kind of similar, but mine was a bit less consistent than I think this build is. I'll show you my list. I ended up placing 13th, so it didn't finish in the top 8. Another Blurple deck here. This is also, I believe, from Team Tianhu. I think most of them were on Blurple for the day. This list on the Diablos, the Brooms, the Tipos, the Bell, Crab, no Fox in this one. 4 copies of Genie, 4 copies of Scrooge McDuck. This is playing 3 copies of Belle, 4 copies of Elsa, 2 copies of Cusco for item removal and location removal, 3 copies of Tamatoa to recur those popsicles, 4 copies of Hades, 4 copies of Sail, 3 Finders Keepers, 4 Friends on the other side, 4 popsicles, and 3 libraries. So, I think what's interesting is even though Team Tianhu brought these Blurple decks, there was some variation in their approaches to the tournament. One kind of dwarfs mine list here, so more of a diggy diggy style deck. The kind of lower to the ground, more aggressive deck playing Happy and Doc to be able to leverage 7 dwarves mine. 4 copies of Calhoun. We've got Lilo, Escape Artist in the deck. We've got 3 copies of Penny. This is the new Penny from what are we? Set 7. Um, spaced out for a second. We're on set 7. 2 copies of Pluto. We got the 4 Lawrences, 2 Gontu. We've got the 8 songs here for Cinderella to sing, and then 3 copies of Rapunzel's Tower to increase the willpower of your creatures. And I think, this card is really interesting. I think it saw some play towards the end of last set, but I think it's a very good card, and I think, we've started to see it a lot more in these kind of diggy style decks, and in a steel meta, in less of a ruby sapphire meta, I think it's a really good call. We have 1 purple steel. I believe this was Calvin. I played against Calvin round 1, and I got O2'd by Calvin, so started off my day pretty rough. And Calvin playing a purple steel deck here with pretty traditional stuff for the most part. 3 copies of Pascal, I think, to potentially combat against discard or these other kind of evasive threats. These decks playing Genie and Iago and other such things. 4 copies of the Giant Cobra. We've got the Genies in here at 4 copies. 2 copies of Rabbit, 2 copies of Yzma. This card draws you 3 cards when you exert it, when you have fewer than 3 cards in hand. 3 Friends, 3 Strength of a Raging Fire, 3 Zeus, 2 Fire the Cannons as your removal suite. And he kind of high rolled me on a library and just drew a bunch of cards, and I just couldn't get in the game. Pretty solid list. I think what's really cool this set is, there's lots of different ways to build some of these decks. A lot of good diversity. So here's a Emerald Sapphire deck piloted by Sage Mode. So this is a Ink Geyser deck. So Clarabelle, Tipo, Kit Cloud Kicker, Belle, Grammatala, Muses. We've got 2 copies of the Genie, 2 copies of John Silver. We've got 1 copy of Peter Pan. Of course, we've got the Clarabelle Shift in there. 3 Develop Your Brain, 4 Sail the Azure at Sea, 2 Ink Geyser, 2 Bend to My Will, and then the 4 Full Year Welcome, 1 Lucky Dime, 3 Manners, 3 Fishbone Quills, few Mother Knows Best, and Heffalumps. I know he lost in top 8 to Louis, the eventual winner, who I think went Daisy Daisy, Pete, 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 and pretty brutal way to go out. And the final top 8 deck here is another Blurple deck. So this one also on Bell and Popsicle, playing 3 copies of Gaston, 4 copies of Hades, 2 copies of Hypnotic Strength. That's a card I haven't really seen in a competitive deck list. 2 copies of it. We've got 3 copies of Iago. Again, no Peter Pan Shadowfinder in this list. We do have the Crab and the Fox here at 3 copies each. We've got Tipo and Sail, 3 Finders Keepers, 4 Friends on the other side, 3 McDuck Manors. So Blurple here in a real way making, 3 of the top 8 decks here. If you look at the kind of the rest of the top 16, here was Ed's Blurple deck um, coming in at in the top 16. I think he was also on a pretty spicy version of the deck. He was running 8 locations. Um, and 4 Let It Go, 4 Hades, 4 Tamatoa, 4 Gaston, 4 Iago. So, Ed being very consistent with his 4-ofs. I think this is the same deck he played at the ICL this week. We had a discard deck in the top 16 as well. What else is in here? Another Steel Song. We had a Sing Together Under the Sea deck. And then here was my deck. So it was kind of a high roll ramp deck, playing 3 Kita on 3, and then Maui, 3 copies of Robin Hood to try to give us some play into those evasive decks. Popsicle, Vitalisphere, Sapphire Coil as items, 4 McDuck Manors. And then the rest of it is, I think, pretty standard Ruby Sapphire stuff. The Kita was pretty good. I wished I had played 4 of Kita to just make it more consistent. She's pretty bad just as a top deck, which is why I went down to 3, but I think you need to see her and you really want to play her on 3 so that you can exert her ability and hard cast how far on the following turn. And that just kind of inks you into the stratosphere where you can immediately Scar and Sisu and prep, and then kind of just take over the game from there, using Tamatoa to refill. I'm working on revising this deck a little bit and making it a little bit more consistent. So we'll see how it goes. I'll let you know. But a pretty fun tournament. Pretty, I think diverse meta overall. In terms of the tournament, these were the top decks here. This was the overall meta breakdown. So 17% Steel Song, 14% Ruby Sapphire, 12% RP, and 10% Blurple, with those 5 members of Team Tianhu, I think, on it. Maybe one person who wasn't on Team Tianhu. More of a kind of aggro burn RP deck. And then, pretty diverse from there. Only 1 player on Kiwi Birds. Nobody else brave enough to bring Sapphire Steel to the tournament. Only 1 player on the Sing Together, making that top 16 cut. So, yeah, pretty interesting tournament overall, and pretty interesting results. I think the key takeaway here is Steel Song in top cut. As you kind of see over here in the overall ink combinations, Steel Song by far and away the most popular deck, with Ruby Amethyst behind it. So that's the report from the Bibbidi Bobbidi Brawl. Big ups to Margolis Gaming Labs for putting on the event, and our judge, John Santos, one of the best judges in the game, being the head judge. Nick, I think, was the backup judge. Pretty great, well-run event overall, and a lot of fun. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you in the next one.